Hey everybody, my name is Wes.
My name is Matt.
And today you're joining us for the Easter checklist. This is going to be so much fun.
We're excited.
Now that I think about it, I kind of wish we just had a list we made where we just check off as we go. Maybe we could have put it in the back
big
wall.
whiteboard where you go,
Yeah, we should have done that. But regardless, this is going to be a lot of fun just because, part of, our job here at ChurchTrac and as we work with so many church leaders like yourself is we get so much insight into churches and what works well, what doesn't work well. And one of the big areas of insight that we've been getting over the years is just a lot of things that church leaders are kind of in that, not necessarily struggle mode, but just like that hustle mode of quickly doing these things and these things before Easter time just to make sure that they are ready to be able to...
It's a scramble.
Yeah, it's a scramble. That's a good... Thank you.
You're welcome, Wes.
And so this is great because this is some good information that I think is going to help many of you. There might be a couple things in this checklist where you realize, oh, we actually didn't do that. We should probably check this out. And this is also good because these are things that are not super time intensive for you to do. Most of these things on this checklist are things that your average church leader can knock out in a couple hours at most.
Yep.
So we've got some good stuff.
But they're still very crucial.
They're extremely crucial. Now, before we get started and all the things, just quickly, Matt, our YouTube channel.
Yes, we have a YouTube channel that we would love for you to subscribe to. I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat here in just a second. But we have, I'm looking at it right now, 170 videos in this channel that you can watch with instructional videos on how to use your ChurchTrac account, but also lots of other really fun, feature-focused webinars and other content that we've been creating over the past several months. So go ahead and subscribe.
And now, another really good resource that we have, if you're not on our Facebook group yet, go ahead and join that today. And if you're watching this in the future, you may already be on the group or you may not, but go ahead and join that today. That's just a really great resource because it gives you the opportunity to talk to other people just like yourself, using the software every day. And so I love it just because it's a good place for conversation beyond just ChurchTrac, but just ministry in general.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, no matter what question you have, whether it's about your ChurchTrac account or not, someone in that group has the answer, always. Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Matt, when it comes to getting help, what's the easiest way? Just
go to your ChurchTrac account, and in the top right-hand corner of the screen, there's that orange help button. If you select that button, it'll open up a little drop-down window where you can either reach out to us in a support ticket by clicking Ask Us a Question, or read our user guide and even schedule a phone call with the Show All Help Topics button. So go ahead and reach out to our support team, whether it be with a ticket or a call, and get the help that you need. All
right. Well, we're going to dive into this checklist, and we'll leave the chat wide open today because we knew this would be kind of a more intimate crowd, and we kind of did that on purpose just because of the nature of this. And so we really just want to take this as an opportunity. We're going to be going through this checklist, you all, and I see Belinda, I see Sherry, so Gayla, Jasmine. Let us know in the chat that you're here, that we know. We're going to almost treat this like a getting started workshop in some ways.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, and we'll go through this checklist, but then we'll have tons of time at the end where we just really want to open the floor and answer any questions you have, because this is such a great opportunity as we all get ready for Easter that's in less than 2 weeks to be able to just answer your questions about ChurchTrac or just anything in general to get you ready for the big day. So it's kind of like a twofer. We're going through a checklist, but we're also holding a Q&A where we can just answer any questions you have about the software, whether they're very basic questions or very intense questions, like if they want to get into automations. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Bring them to us.
All right. So the checklist, Matt, let's start things off. Let's talk about the Connect card, the first thing in our checklist.
Yes, because this is sort of the front line of gathering guest information so you can follow up with them and hopefully build a bridge to a relationship between your church and that guest. Obviously, the welcome team is really the first front line, but the card that they hand, whether it be digitally or physically, the card they give that guest is like the best resource your church has for including them in church services in the future.
So question for all of you, is your Connect card, so your digital Connect card, is that ready for your Easter service? And I'll type in the chat. Is your Connect card ready for Easter service? It's hard to type and talk at the same time. Connect.
Especially live in front of a bunch of people.
Yes. So is your Connect card ready? Let me know in the chat. And this is to everyone, Victoria, Dwayne, Nikki, Nicole. So when it comes to the Connect card, Matt, This is a good opportunity to kind of go off in a different tangent than what we typically can do.
See, the reason why we love or promote the form card in Church Connect is simply because you can change it and update it to fit the context you're in anytime. Printed cards are great, but once you print them, they're done.
Yes.
And if you need to change them, you're going to have to make another printing, and that costs money.
Yeah.
But the form card in ChurchTrac is easy and simple and can be edited and changed in seconds. So Wes, in the ChurchTrac account, why don't we show them how to do this?
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on the Church Connect feature. Now this account, we already have a Connect card. It's that top left Connect with Potential card. If Wes clicks on that, it opens up a new little slide out menu, and if he scrolls down, there's an option to edit the card or even create new form questions. So if we click that, we'll see the typical things that most churches have in a form, like a connection card. Asking for the name and the email or a phone number, and maybe a little questionnaire like what are you wanting to do, whether it be connect with the church or contact the pastor or something like that. But if you scroll further down, we've actually added a couple other little questions that are much more relevant to the Easter Sunday crowd.
Yeah.
So like, how can we pray for you? Which is great just for ministry, but then what does the resurrection mean to you? Now, when it comes to creating form cards that actually get filled out, we have a video that we've done on that.
Yes.
And the key takeaway from that video was that the more questions you ask or the more fields you add to a card, the less likely it is that person will actually fill it out.
You had mentioned it. It's kind of like every single question you put in is a hurdle they have to jump over. And when you have a lot of hurdles, some people can't jump that many, man. I'm one of them.
Yeah. So like you could maybe eliminate that questionnaire at the very, like above that, where it gives you a list of options to choose from, because for your Easter crowd, most of them aren't really interested in any of those things. They're there just because they were brought there by their family members.
Yeah.
So you could eliminate that just to make it easier for those people to actually fill out this form. But the reason why we add something that's more relevant to Easter is because two reasons. One, it kind of gets their headspace in the right place by having them think about the resurrection and Easter. But also, if that guest fills out that card and they answer, what does the resurrection mean to you, it will help you gauge their spiritual temperature in a sense and understand where exactly they are in their relationship or in their journey with Christ.
Now, one really cool thing. So what does the resurrection mean to you? Which highly recommend having a question like this on here for Easter time.
Yes.
This is a pro tip that I've seen a pastor do that I love, because sometimes it can be hard to get people that are guests at your church to want to take that next step to fill out a card, especially if like you're saying, hey, you're new to our church, scan the QR code, fill out our connection card to get connected with us, and then they feel singled out.
Yeah, it's like by waving your phone around, you kind of signal to everyone that you're a guest.
Yeah, and so here's what a pro tip from a pastor I learned from a couple of years ago. So what they did is they had a question, which they actually made the question go up some. And Matt, I think they're sending you a message, just double checking to make sure your mic's working.
Oh, okay.
But so like I'm moving this question all the way to the top actually. So what does the resurrection mean to you? I'm going to put that one at the very top. And here's why. Because now this question's at the very top. So like when I go, I'm going to pull up the phone real quick. And I'm just going to show real fast what this looks like on a phone, to people in our church that may be scanning the QR code on their phone. They're going to this. So then as a pastor, you can say, hey, everybody, scan the QR code right now. Go ahead, pull your phones out, whether you're a guest here at our church, whether you're a member at our church. Go ahead and scan the QR code. And I want you to click the Connect with Us card. And let me know, what does the resurrection mean to you? And that way it's front and center, and you're encouraging everyone at your church to fill this out.
Yep.
So number one, you're getting involvement from everybody.
Yes.
And
which is always nice.
Yes, it's a great thing. And then you're encouraging people to fill out that information, so that way if they're new to the church or if they're visiting, they can put that in there. They can put how you can pray for them, whatever it may be. So it's just kind of a killer pro tip that I learned from that pastor of how to leverage your Connect card for more than just like connecting with guests, but really connecting with all your people and actually having a higher percentage of guests even take the time to fill it out.
Yeah, because now they're not the only ones doing it.
Yeah, I wish I was smart enough to think of that on my own, but I'm just not. We just take time to learn from pastors that are doing some pretty amazing things. So that was one. Okay, now let's move on past that, Matt. Past the Connect card, email check.
Yes. So beyond having an app and communicating with people there, we now need to talk about using your email tool to reach out to your members and your volunteers ahead of time so that they have everything that they need to help serve that day and just to prepare for the big day. We actually have email tools built, or a email tool, we don't have multiple, built into the ChurchTrac account.
Yeah.
You go to People and Families and then select the Messaging tab at the top. This is where you can send emails and also text messages and voice messages. But what we recommend is that as you send these emails, you use the smart list to be selective with who receives these messages. Because sometimes you need to send a blast out to the entire church and email to everybody. But sometimes you may want to just reach out to the members as opposed to the guests. And other times you may want to reach out to a specific group of volunteers, like the children's ministry volunteers. That's another option that this church has.
Yeah.
So you can select a specific group of within your church, reach out to them, give them the resources they need, let them know about some changes that have been made, and also just remind them of something that's coming up, like a rehearsal or some meeting that they need to attend.
Or if like you have the Easter egg hunt coming up and you just want to let everyone know about that.
Yeah.
It's just so great having all this built in. Now, pro tip, when it comes to email, for those of you who have been emailing a lot with ChurchTrac, you may already knew about this, but we have this ability to have a reply to.
Yes.
I love this so much because let's say, all right, Matt, I'm the pastor and I'm sending out an email to the church about Easter. Hello, everyone, blah, 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 right?
Right.
But I don't want all the replies, if some people start replying to this email, I don't want all of them coming to me because maybe I'm going to be busy doing a bunch of other stuff and I actually want maybe our church admin to field all those emails and reply to the questions people may have, depending on what it is I send.
Yeah.
I can say, you know what, you're going to get those emails, not me.
Okay.
And so when they hit reply, they reply to the email, it replies to you,
It
not
goes
me.
to my inbox, not his. Yes. So
Yeah.
you can write an email and then make sure that the right person at your church receives all the responses. And then also, we can go ahead and jump the gun. You can actually schedule these to go out at a later time.
Yes.
So you can either send this now or send it later and have that scheduled out. That's a pro tip for all of you as well.
Yes.
So you can actually schedule everything, including text messages. And that's the next thing. Now that we're in the messaging tab.
We got to talk about
texting. Because even though email is great because it's good for sending long form communication and giving people lots of resources, most people don't read their emails. I'm sure that some of you have experienced this where you've sent out an email and then like a week later you followed up with them in person. Hey, did you get this message from me? And they say, oh no, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so it's not really a fun fact, it's just a fact.
That's a frustrating fact.
It's a frustrating fact. As a church, we are lucky to get 40% of people even open our emails. Now, actually read those emails, maybe 25%. Now, some churches have higher percentages than others, some are lower, but that seems to be the common percentages that I've seen from MailChimp. They do like an annual record of this and all their stats. And so that's why it's so important to hit people in more than just one communication venue like email.
Yes.
Texting is awesome for that.
Texting is great. I've read stats that 90% of text messages are read within the first 3 minutes that they're received, which means that most of the people in your church, since they have a phone, will actually read the text messages that you send them as opposed to the emails. It takes like days for emails to reach a 90% open and read rate, whereas with texting, it's only minutes. So I think it's like in 5 minutes, 98% of text messages have been read.
And then within, I think it's 90% or within 20 minutes.
You mean, no, that's 90% within 3 minutes.
Oh, 90, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah. So it's super fast. So definitely make sure that you're also pairing most of your communications with text messages as well so that you're covering your bases. Everyone's actually reading the things that you need them to see. And again, as another pro tip, just to repeat this, you can either send a text message or you can schedule it for later. This is really helpful because right now, you may have a little more bandwidth to sit down and actually craft these messages and plan them out. In a week's time, you're going to be slammed. And that email that needs to go out to your volunteers to let them know to bring XYZ or meet at whatever time, you're not going to have time to sit down and craft that out. You go ahead and do it now and just set it and forget it.
Yeah, which is the same tagline for the Showtime rotisserie oven, in case you're wondering. Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
Things you remember when you're a kid watching infomercials. Okay, so we've covered Connect Card, we've covered email, we covered our texting check. This is a good one. This is a big one. the website check.
Okay. So this is more than just the Connect card. Now we're going to talk about Church Connect as a whole, because this is basically a ton of real estate for communicating with your members and getting everything ready for your guests as well. The question you have to ask yourself as you sit down with your website, and this also applies to another website from another platform, not just Church Connect.
Yeah, this is just website in general.
So if you've got like a, I'm suddenly blanking.
Squarespace, Wix,
yes.
whatever website platform it is you're using if you're not using Church Connect.
WordPress is the word I was trying to think of. If you have a website with any of those platforms, do this there as well. Ask yourself, would a person that has never set foot in our church before be able to quickly find a few things, such as where your church is located.
That's a big one.
The time of your services.
Yep.
What your mission and values and beliefs of your church are. And also, would they be able to like listen to or watch a sermon ahead of time just to sort of prepare themselves for what they can expect when they're in service at your church?
Yeah.
You need to make it, you need to not only include that information in your website, but you need to make it really easy for them to find that information, whether it be right there on the landing page or in the nav bar across the very top, or in the case of Church Connect, you need to have it included in a card and make it some of the first cards people encounter when they scroll through the Church Connect site.
And just to show you all real quick how I built our test Church Connect, just to give you an example of how you can show this basic information to people. So, okay, where your church is located. So when I'm on my Church Connect, I can see that second card there is time and location. So whenever I select that, where my church is located, well, I've embedded a Google map right there that shows where my church is located.
Easy.
Times and location. Notice I've got the service time, but then Easter sunrise service will be held at 7:30 a.m. We will have breakfast immediately following the sunrise service. So you got times and services, mission, vision, beliefs of my church. So going back, all people have to do in My Church Connect is they scroll down a couple and there's About Us, where they can learn more about our vision, our mission. And then like listening and watching to a previous sermon, because a lot of people before they visit a church, they want to listen to a little bit of a sermon to know what they're in for.
Yep.
So I've got that right there in my potential church podcast, that third card.
Perfect.
And so
easy.
Someone can find out all that information in under 30 seconds by
easy.
looking at My Church Connect. So another really good thing, Matt, is just like, are your upcoming events listed?
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason why, number one, is you want people to come to upcoming events. But also, two, a lot of people, when they look at a church website, especially guests that have never been to your church before, they want to know, like, are things actually happening at this church?
Yeah, they're kind of gauging what this church is like, if it's a happening church, if you want to use that term.
Yeah.
So having some upcoming events listed will help with that. But also, on the other side of that coin, you got to make sure that old events aren't also listed.
Oh, man.
Big pet peeve of mine.
Yes.
You don't want the spaghetti dinner from 5 months ago still listed. I'm sure it was delicious and a great time.
I'm not to be the guy that you says, oh, you know, I've seen worse. I've seen a church that had spaghetti dinner from 5 years ago on their website. And I remember just looking at that, like, did they not look at their website?
Yeah, either they don't look at their website, which is probably the case, or there's nothing that's been happening at that church in a long time, and that's the most exciting thing they have to announce.
Yeah.
So make sure that you've cleaned that up. Old events have been removed, new upcoming events are listed so that everybody can understand exactly what they can expect to experience at your church.
I wish I had a little, like, you know, one of those, not a bell, but like the mew, mew, mew. All right, pro tip. Pro tip, special Easter announcements, list them front and center in your website, because I mean, this is a big time where people start going to your website for the first time that are in your community. And so one thing I did with our Church Connect, just to kind of emphasize the Easter theme here, is by having our logo, updating our logo to be more Easter-centric.
Nice.
Even having our Connect card to be more Easter-centric, if you didn't notice that already from earlier. And then, you know, the times and location being Easter-centric, because that's like the first thing I'm seeing is the Easter sunrise service.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, Brenda asked, how do I put upcoming events on there? Step one, Brenda, is you go to the events and attendance screen in ChurchTrac and you add the event to the calendar that's there.
Yeah.
Once you add that calendar and you make it like a registration event, that will then allow you to add that as a card of its own in Church Connect too. But even if you don't make it a card, when people create an account in Church Connect and they log into that account, they'll have an option to see some upcoming events, so it'll display there too.
All right. So we've gone through, just to recap, all right, we've gone through the website check. We've gone through the texting, the email, Connect card. All right, so let's talk about the Google check.
The Googs.
The Googs. This is such a good one, Matt. We've done videos in the past about this, and I think this is probably one of the most important things in terms of like a church's web presence that they can
100%. Even more so than like having some killer Church Connect site. That's step 2. Step 1 is making sure that you actually show up in a Google search. If someone were to search the name of your church, would it show up on a Google map or in Google? And even more importantly, if someone were to search something generic like churches near me, will your church show up in the top 3 list of options on Google, whether it be in the maps or on an actual Google search?
And let me just in real time. So I just searched church on Google Maps on my phone here. And so you can see, I search church, I have all these churches that start popping up and displaying. And so that way, some people, when they're searching for a church come Easter time, the week before, or maybe a few days before, they're just going on Google Maps or just Google in general and searching church near me, or church, or maybe like Baptist church or Methodist church, depending on what denomination they associate with.
Yeah, so like you can search in Google churches near me, and Google will give you a list of churches in your immediate area, but it's not sorted by proximity. They're actually prioritizing certain churches over others based on their algorithm. And their algorithm is looking for how many 5-star reviews does this church have? Does this church even have a Google My Business profile? Do people look up this location in Google Maps and then get directions to it?
Yeah.
Things like that. And also, are there pictures of this church in the Google My Business listing and in their reviews? So our pro tip. Our advice to all of you is to create a Google My Business profile for your church if you haven't already, or log into it and make sure it's all up to date, the one that you currently have. Also, ask your members this coming Sunday, since this is the last Sunday before Easter Sunday, to log into Google and find your church and leave some 5-star reviews. That will do a lot to make sure that your church ranks at the top of a Google search when somebody in your immediate area types in churches near me in a Google search.
And I want to post this link here in the chat. So we have an article that's a really great article that I think you wrote, Matt, that talks about like how to put your church on Google Maps. So I just posted that link there in the chat for all of y'all. This is such a great article, Matt, because it really covers like why, first of all, why your church needs to be on Google Maps if it isn't already. Go ahead, create your Google business profile, claim your church and everything. And then it talks about the benefits and everything. You just mentioned many of them.
Yep.
And there's even a video there we talk about did Google kill SEO, which basically is Google Maps, which is funny.
It kind of sort of did kill SEO, but also didn't. But anyway.
Yeah. So whether your church doesn't have a Google business profile yet, or you do, but maybe you haven't spent a lot of time curating it and just, linking your website to it, stuff like that, I encourage you, take a look at this article because that's going to be a really great thing for you. Now, pro tip. Because I like giving out pro tips.
Yes.
Pro tip, if you do, even if you already have a lot of 5-star reviews, or if you don't have any at all, or maybe a couple, go ahead, encourage your church members to leave 5-star reviews on your Google business profile. So on Google Maps, they can review your church. Encourage them to take maybe a picture in a worship service or something like that. Take pictures of the outside of the church, stuff like that. Because what happens is that just kind of all works into Google's algorithm and bumps your church up. So then when people do things like searching a church, and Google just kind of first gives them the first 10 churches that are within that realm area, your church is more likely to pop up and show because you have a lot of Google reviews and a lot of people that are actually engaging with your Google business profile listing there. Such a good one. I think that's probably, I can't play favorites, but if I were to play favorites, this whole thing with Google business profile, you can get deep into all the things that are associated with it, but this might be one of the most important things we talk about today, just because this goes way beyond Easter. This is just something that can affect your church's digital footprint in so many ways. All right.
So that's the Google check. We've done, the Connect card check, email check, texting check, website check, Google check, now the follow-up check.
Follow-up check, yes. It's funny, there's a song, my daughter listens to, and it's I've decided to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, the old school one, I have decided, but then it's like a Jamaican kind of reggae theme. And so that's the first thing I thought of when I think of follow-up check, because he says, I'm gonna follow, are you gonna follow? Anyways.
That's funny.
That's neither here nor there. But no, following up, you know, this is such a big thing after Easter.
Yes, because most of what we've just talked about is preparation ahead of time and also laying the groundwork to receive guests. But follow-up is post-Easter, what we do with all that information that we gathered from our guests. Now is a really good time. Now that you have the breathing room to address this and prepare for this, now is a really good time to put a fresh set of eyes on your existing guest follow-up, no matter what that is, whether it be the phone calls that you're making and how those are going, who's responsible for that, what information you even gather from your guests. Like, is it better to get phone numbers instead of emails and such like that?
Yes.
Now, the next question to ask, since you all are probably using ChurchTrac and are wanting to know how to use your ChurchTrac account to its fullest potential, the next question I have to ask is, have you created any automations for follow-up in your ChurchTrac account? Because you can do that. In ChurchTrac, if you go to your account and click on the Settings and Automations feature at the bottom of that main menu, at the very top, there's an option for automations.
Now, if you do not see this option, either you do not have the privileges enabled for you, or you may be on an older ChurchTrac subscription that is old and you need to upgrade, because you're going to love this. So automations, it's hard for me to put in words, but I guess the best way to say it is it enables you to basically automate all you
can kind of outsource a lot of your work to the
busy
software.
work. Stuff that is arduous, that takes you a lot of time. Maybe it's a lot of data entry. Maybe it's a lot of just like moving things here and there and inputting things. It enables you to minimize the time you spend on that, so you can focus on actually doing ministry and doing discipleship. And so when it comes to follow-up, automations are so great for this.
Yes.
Let me show you an example. Now, this is, I'm going ahead and forewarn some of you who, especially if you haven't seen automations yet in ChurchTrac, like, you're definitely going to want to watch our video on church automations. I apologize. I think I'm the one on that video.
Don't apologize.
But go ahead and watch that video, so it helps you get more in tune with it. We even have automation recipes that kind of give you ideas of automations. But let me just show you the power of automations, and something that you can set up between now and Easter. You can easily set this up and have it ready. So I'm going to add an automation, and I'm going to call this our Easter follow-up.
Mm-hmm. And we're showing you this live because this is how easy it is to create this and how fast it is.
Yes. So there's two different types of automations. Again, look at our user guide video and stuff, but this is going to be a people automation. So I'll add this automation. So what I want is I want this automation to do a couple different things, which is going to be our actions, like what I want to happen. Mm-hmm. And then the options, that's like, okay, when and who is this going to happen to? And so in this particular situation, I want it to be triggered by something. And the trigger is when a tag is added. And I can select the tag that I want to be the trigger. And the trigger is going to be a new guest. So I have a tag in my database already where it's called new guest, and we assign this tag to someone who is a new guest that we just add to our database. They're a new guest. We assign this tag to them. So that is the trigger that I'm going to use. So that is like okay, when is this going to happen and who is this going to happen to?
The moment you add that tag to a person's profile.
The very moment I add that tag. So then here's what's so wild. Y'all, check this out. So I can add my action now. So the first thing I want to have happen is I want it to send an email to that person.
Yeah, to that guest.
To that guest. So I'm going to select and configure, and that's going to be the subject line, welcome to Potential Church. You can be whatever subject line you want. And then I can go ahead and customize this. Hi, and then I can put first name. It's going to automatically input their first name.
It's going to inject that right in.
So hi, first name, Pastor Wes. I need to probably capitalize my name, at Potential Church. So glad you joined us. And then whatever you want to say. It can be anything. You can customize this. This is your church. This is your ministry. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. We'll pretend I wrote up this whole email. I save it. All right, so now what's going to happen? Well, as soon as they're tagged, this is going to automatically send an email to them from me, Pastor Wes. Now I'm going to have another action. I'm going to have it say, you know what? I want it to also go create a task.
Nice.
And it's going to create a task. It's going to put this on how about our outreach project that we've got going on. And it's going to assign it to pastor. And it's going to be new guest follow-up.
And I think this is the real power of these automations, is the fact that not only can you have the software take care of several tasks for you, but you can have a single automation do a lot all at once.
Yes.
So you can have it send an email. You can also have it send a text. You can have it create a task for another user in ChurchTrac so that they can take the next step in following up with that guest. You can have it create a text for that user as well. So it's not just creating a task that pops up in ChurchTrac, but it actually notifies them on their phone. All of that can be done. And you can also add another tag or remove a tag or do all sorts of things in the software all at once.
People out there are probably
I get excited about automations, Wes.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I know some of you looking at this for the first time, your mind's already like, man, where do I even go with that? Again, I just encourage you, check out our user guide where we've got a video that shows you like from start to finish setting up those automations. I just wanted to show this in real time live because it's just so cool how our software's got this built in. It's just one of the many features we've got in ChurchTrac to be able to help you disciple your people, to communicate with your people, to manage your church, all those things. So that's a really great one. So that would be, honestly, automations in its own is a pro tip, because if you're using automations in ChurchTrac, you're a power user.
Absolutely.
You are a person that is leveraging the software to its like highest capability, because automations really bring everything in the software together in that regard.
Fully agree.
All right, so we've
Last
covered
but
a
not
whole
least.
lot. The last one, and I know I said earlier that the Google one was like the most important. I take that back. The Google one's not the most important. I think it's the volunteer check, which is our last one. Number 7, the volunteer check. And so there's a lot of things happening with Easter. You know, we depend on our volunteers to be able to help make that happen. Obviously, the first thing that makes it happen is the Word of God and the Holy Spirit, and the sheer fact that Jesus has risen. That is what makes Easter happen to begin with. He has risen indeed. But when it comes to having all the things go on at our church, with the influx of people that are coming to our church for the first time, we want to be able to have our volunteers in place and just ready to rock. So that way everyone knows, where they need to be, the time they need to be there, and all that stuff. And so just double checking with volunteers to make sure everyone's ready. And there's a lot of ways you can use ChurchTrac for that. I mean, we already covered it earlier, Matt, but just the people screen, going to that messaging tab, sending out emails, and maybe scheduling emails just to remind volunteers of certain key points. Maybe it's like the Easter egg hunt, or maybe key points about, the parking team, just be sure to do this, whatever it may be. And utilizing text as well. But then going deeper than that, thinking about, okay, like what are the things, because this is like real stuff that it's easy to just kind of forget. Like, okay, maybe Easter comes, we're using like more volunteers than we normally use.
Yeah.
And so do you have enough lanyards for all your volunteers?
Yeah, lanyards and name tags. And it's time to order those now, definitely, because we're getting very down to the wire in terms of being able to order things ahead of time.
Well, and I've also seen, just because many of us order things like that on Amazon or eBay and stuff, because those are easy things to buy there, the shipping times start drifting off pretty quickly.
Yes.
And so you don't want to wait too late, because then you may not get it in time, kind of like if you wait too late to get Christmas presents. So yeah,
As
things
I
like
do every
lanyards.
year.
Now, if you are in a pinch, just to kind of throw this out there, like if you're wanting to generate a bunch of name tags, I've seen some churches that want to have name tags like just on everybody come Easter, because it's just easier for people to just be able to talk to people better when they can just see their name right there. So you can generate name tags with check-in. I'm not going to go through the whole process of how to do that here, but in the same way that you create those labels for all your kids and child check-in, you can just switch it to an event in which it's just a generic label and you can print people's name on it. And so that's another way to use the software if you're in a pinch for that. Create name tags. Another thing too, this is probably one of my favorite features in ChurchTrac, because I am a worship leader and I love just staying organized and stuff.
This is like your pet feature.
It is. It's my pet feature. So like, for example, you have this Easter egg hunt in here. And so like, let's say you have all these people here that are scheduled to serve.
Yes.
Okay. So I can send out these invites to these people, obviously, but ChurchTrac does have that feature to send out reminder messages.
Yes,
and this is
so crucial.
I love this. So like,
so important.
maybe
to make
the
sure
day
you
before
schedule
the
those
event.
reminder messages out, because especially for church leaders like us who are trying to be proactive and do things way ahead of time, if you're creating this service in ChurchTrac today, you need to make sure you have those reminder messages go out 1 to 2 days ahead of time, just because all of your volunteers are keeping a lot of plates spinning. They're going to need that reminder, just that little tap on the shoulder that says, hey, don't forget about this.
Yeah, that's such a great feature for that. And this feature alone has really saved me a lot of frustration in the past, because I've scheduled people like a month out in advance, not even just Easter, but just like in general for like running the lyrics or something, and it's reminded them. So great feature built into ChurchTrac there for you to be able to utilize, send out those text reminders, email reminders, or both. Now, pro tip. And this is pro tip that has nothing to do with ChurchTrac, but more so just something I have failed at as a leader, that I want to just kind of share my knowledge as a leader who's failed at this miserably and has learned the hard way. We ask a lot from volunteers.
Especially certain volunteers.
Yes, we do. Do you have, let me ask the question in chat, do you have a volunteer in mind that has done a lot for you? So, do you have a volunteer in mind that has done a lot for you, a lot for the church, a lot for the ministry? So I'll just ask the question there. So let me know in the chat, do you have one or a couple in mind? Let me know if you have like 5 in mind, because this is a big one. One thing I've found as a leader is that it's easy to get into this mode of like utilizing our volunteers, especially our awesome volunteers that have done so much.
They just always say yes.
Yes, they always say yes and everything. And we fail to do things to show them appreciation.
Yes.
And Easter, we're asking a lot. So like, Zaina, you have 3 people. Juliana, Dwayne, yes. So Easter's a really great time to bless them and to show them that you are thankful and that all the work they do is not going unseen. And so if you have it in your budget for your church or your personal budget, maybe give them a gift card somewhere to like their favorite restaurant. Maybe do something special for them if you don't have the budget, but you have other means to do other things for them. In fact, oftentimes those are the things that even mean more than just giving them a gift card.
A gift card, absolutely.
Yeah, and you know your volunteers well, because these are people we're serving in ministry with, we're on the front lines of ministry with, and you know the things they like, the things they don't like. And so think about how you can really show your appreciation to them. Think about how you can bless them, and do it during this time of Easter, because it's just so important. Because if we don't do it now at this time, it's so easy to just let it slip through the cracks, and then the summer lulls are upon us not too long after Easter, and then like you just forget to tell people and show people how thankful you are for what they've done.
Also, because summer's coming up, people are going on vacations, and you might not have that whole volunteer team in front of you at one time, for a few more months.
That's a really good point.
So do it now, because they're here. They're here to work. They're here to serve. It's the big day. So go ahead and make sure you have a few gifts of some kind or a way to say thanks prepped, so that Easter Sunday morning, when everybody's there early and they're still sipping their coffee and rubbing the sleep out of their eyes, getting everything ready to go super early for that sunrise service, you go ahead and hand that to them then to start the day.
That's a way to start a sunrise service. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, Matt, I'm so thankful for everything you've done. Here's a $50 gift card to Outback Steakhouse, because I know you and your wife love those bloomin' onions so much.
Those bloomin' onions, they get me.
All right, well, we've covered a lot today. Just a quick recap. We ended things with our volunteer check. We had the follow-up check, the Google check, the website check, the texting, the email, and then your Connect card. I want to open the floor just for questions, just a time of Q&A. That's why I love these live streams so much, man. Because
this is the best part.
Yeah, this isn't some just video you watch and then some random person answers you in the chat, and the video was, recorded live months ago. This is happening now, so we can actually interact with you guys live. So let us know in the chat, what are your questions? Or also, better yet, maybe you don't have a question. Maybe you have like a cool thing that you have found in Easter that's really helped your church, or maybe things that maybe there's a particular check that you are starting to do every year because you missed out on this the year before or something. Let us know. I'd love to hear it, because that's part of why we do this. We love to impart the knowledge that not only we learn from other church leaders to you all, but also that that you can just directly tell other people. So give you a platform as well. But yeah, any questions we have? And I know our team already kind of gave us some in the chat as well.
Belinda asked a little while ago, And I told her in the chat I would address this. Creating an automation for new guests is great, but wouldn't you need to add them to the people and family screen, which is adding more members to the total of people you subscribed for? Hope this makes sense. Belinda, yes, it does make sense. The fact is, yes, you do have to add them to the people screen to trigger an automation.
Yep.
And that will count towards your member cap. However, you can archive names. And that's going to be really key for Easter service and for recording guests.
Yeah.
Because a lot of your guests, it's true, they'll come, they'll give you their information, and you won't hear back from them. If that's the case, you can just click on their name on the people screen, make sure you check the box to the left of their name, then click the Actions button at the very top, right above that list of names, and then select Archive Selected Name. It's right below Delete. There you go. That will move that person to the archived menu, which is all that's doing is it's just taking them from the people screen and moving them to a different part of your account. The benefit is that archived names don't count towards your member cap. That means you can retain their information but not have to be pushed into a higher price tier with ChurchTrac. We did that because we want churches to have everything they need without having to pay more, because we don't want to be a burden for your church.
Yeah, and at any time you need to view archived names, just select the View Archived Names on the menu, and the system will automatically bring down all your archived names, in which you can restore them at any time.
Yep. So if they do come back, there they are. So you can go ahead and enter their information, do that tag. It'll activate that automation, and then just go ahead and archive them right there on the spot. That way, you're always retaining their information, giving them that communication, that follow-up, but also not paying anything more for your ChurchTrac account than what you can afford right now. All right, let's see, Levi, will we get a more robust HTML editor where we can use CSS or our own styling? I'm guessing that's for Church Connect.
Yeah.
Definitely stay tuned for some future updates in the Church Connect feature coming in the next year or so. You already have an HTML editor which will allow you to do quite a lot in terms of customizing in your ChurchTrac account and embedding things like a iframe for a Google Map and stuff like that.
And one thing, Levi, that I've kind of been messing with lately, because we like to nerd out on stuff.
Yes.
I've been using ChatGPT just to help me create a little bit of code here and there. Like, I know a little bit of HTML, but like I've been having ChatGPT help me write a little HTML and dropping it in there. Plus, Canva actually writes HTML.
Yes.
For some of the things, and you can utilize Canva. Actually, there was one church that created some really amazing looking cards in Church Connect, and that was all done from Canva using not just creating images, but they had HTML they put in there, which was nuts.
Well, Canva will give you the HTML of that image, so you can copy that and just paste that into the page editor for your ChurchTrac page card, which will then transform that page from just text to an actual image that they can then interact with, and you can have buttons and everything. It was really impressive.
Yeah, and just to so Matt, I'm putting your email address out there just because this is something you had nerded out on pretty good last time with Canva. Levi, reach out to us, to Matt, and also anybody else that wants to dive deeper into Church Connect. Yeah, just send Matt an email. And we can help you out with that. We'd love to, help you kind of get all that ready in time for Easter and stuff.
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
So Eric, what is the key thing to know when transferring our church website to ChurchTrac? So you can take virtually all of the content you have on a website on another platform and bring that content into ChurchTrac in one form or another, as one card or another. The key thing is knowing local SEO. That's kind of we're kind of pivoting into a different subject with that answer.
Yeah.
But the greatest return you'll have on the time and effort you put into a website is understanding what local SEO is and building that into your website, whether it be a website on another platform or Church Connect, because that will increase the likelihood that your church shows up at the top of a Google search query whenever somebody searches something in your area.
Yeah.
We actually have an article. I'll look it up here in just a second while Wes answers the next question, and I'll drop that in for you, Eric.
Yeah, and I think I already answered the question about archiving, and just to kind of throw this out there, archiving. If you archive a name in ChurchTrac and you go to generate contribution statements for the end of the year, it'll still generate contribution statements for archived names. Yeah, so definitely don't worry about that. Let's see, other question here. I think it was, how do I embed a Google Map on Church Connect from Brenda? Did we address that yet?
No, we didn't address that directly. We just showed the card that had it. All you have to do is create a page card in Church Connect. And then when you create that card, go to the page editor, and then that'll give you the option to open up the HTML. All you then have to do is go to Google Maps, I should say.
And I'm just going to pick a random church, so don't judge me if this church doesn't, meet your, specifications of what you believe, but I've just picked a random church near us.
Yes.
And so then from here, if you go to the share option for your church, so on your Google Map listing there, you have the option to have a link, which sometimes it's easier just to have a link that goes to it, and you can link that in your Church Connect, or you can embed it on a map, and you can just copy that HTML that Google provides, which I highly recommend this. I actually did this. I copied the HTML and I put it straight into my page card on Church Connect. And so that way when you go, team, I'm going to show off my phone real quick just so they can see that. So whenever I go to my Church Connect and you see that embedded map right there, that's how I did that. And so it's just showing a church there I embedded.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right, next question by, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Ewing or Ewing? I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. If you archive someone who gave money, can you still send them the money history at the end of the year?
I already answered it, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah,
I must have been too busy.
That is the challenge when we're looking at the chat. Yeah. Now, any other questions? This is a prime opportunity. I mean, obviously you can ask our support team questions before Easter to get answers very quickly. Our team usually answers questions in about a business hour or less. Sometimes I see them do it in 5 minutes. Team, you're amazing. But no, this is a great opportunity. Any questions you have about ChurchTrac, that's part of the reason we did this live stream. It was, to go through this checklist, but also just help set you up for success, for your church, whether it's, diving into Church Connect, if you have questions about that, if it's accounting, if it's giving, whatever it may be. Now, just forewarn you, if it's accounting, we can only go so deep with that just because a lot of times accounting questions are very specific and need to be addressed one-on-one. But yeah, any other questions you have? What other questions might you ask on the Connect card for Easter? From Dwayne. Yeah, so what other questions might you ask? I mean, probably the biggest thing was what does resurrection mean to you? Or maybe even asking something because you're trying to gear it more towards people who maybe are coming to your church for the first time. Dwayne, it could be an opportunity where you just kind of think through what would I want to know about someone that's visiting my church for the first time or visiting my church. We called those the CEO Christians.
Yes.
The Christmas and Easter only, because we have a lot of those in our churches. It's just the nature of it.
Some other questions that you could ask, we actually did, a long time ago, I say a long time, it was a couple of years ago, wrote an article addressing this exact question. And a few things that I recommend adding to your form card to prepare for Easter would be something like, why did you choose our church? That can be.
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's a good icebreaker because the answer could be very simple, like my grandmother forced me to come, and letting them be honest like that is fine. It's actually positive, or it could be really serious, like I'm really struggling and I live down the road and I just felt really compelled to come today and I don't know why. And that gives you the opportunity to know exactly where these people are coming from as they arrive at your church.
That's really good insight, because then if you're following up with that person and they've filled out that question, answered that question, that just makes it easier for you to be able to minister to them.
Yes.
Is your church app ready for Easter? I think is the article.
No, are your Church Connect cards. I'm sorry.
We have so many articles. It's
are my
crazy.
Connect cards ready for Easter?
If you're ever just sitting around on a Saturday and you're like, man, I just want to read some stuff and build more knowledge about ChurchTrac or just ministry, we have so many articles on there. So have at it. Oh man. Any other question? I think one from Eric.
Eric, this might be too basic, but for a simpleton like me online, but the only one available, what is SEO regarding church website? Oh, yes, it's SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Eric, I'll copy and paste these articles in again because I dropped them into the chat just a moment ago. But we actually have an article in our we have a blog post and a video on our YouTube channel that addresses that. So I'll just drop them back into the chat again. Just click on those links and you'll have what you need there.
Yeah, SEO, Eric, don't be afraid of SEO. It does sound like search engine optimization. People talk about it and it makes it seem like only people in marketing can do this stuff. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yes.
Yes.
Local church SEO is something that simpletons like us can grasp, I promise, Eric. All right, Nicole, is there a specific number for text to give other than scanning the QR code? Some people don't want to scan the barcode.
Oh, yeah. So there's a couple, I can't believe I get to show this. This is a really cool feature. So on the messaging in ChurchTrac, if you're using our texting with Twilio integration, by the way, you can actually set up auto replies. So when someone texts something like new to your church, well, maybe it sends
just text the word new to your church's phone number.
Then it'll send them, hey, get connected with us, serve. Okay, great. Here's a form card. Here are the times, all these things, VBS. And so when you can have it set up to where when someone texts give to your church's phone number, then the system will automatically, if you've enabled it in ChurchTrac, it will automatically start them through that process of setting up an account to give online and everything. And it's so great because once they set up their account and everything, it's literally just a matter, and I know I say literally a lot, but this is literally just a matter of just texting like $20 to my church number, and it says, do you want to give $20, yes or no? Yes. All right, good to go. Thanks. Like it's kind of wild.
Super easy.
Yeah. Or just any other things in general with texting. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do that we haven't even scratched the surface on with texting in ChurchTrac.
All right, Gayla asked, is there a way to get home phone numbers on the online directory? We have an older congregation. Well, yeah, and the people and family screen, as long as the primary phone number you enter for a person is their home phone number, that will then show up on the online directory. And your members can choose, like they can opt into including their information in the directory and including their phone number in that information. So it's up to them whether or not they display that info, but yeah, absolutely.
And for you, so Gayla, one thing you said is you have an older congregation. I would highly recommend having a printed directory in your case, just because you're going to have a lot of people that in your congregation that may never go to the online directory.
Yes.
And so in that situation, you can you can use the member directories we have built into ChurchTrac, which are super easy because all I have to do is just go view report and there's just a simple family directory there. But you can also create your own custom one. So if you want to have like specific fields and everything, this is actually something very common. We see a lot of churches do. They create custom directories because they have specific fields they want to include. So go ahead, reach out to our team if you have any other questions about that. You want to dive deeper into it. We'd love to help you out with that. So that way you have your member directory ready in time for Easter, because that's a good time to have it ready and maybe hand them out too.
Yes, perfect. All right, last chance for any more questions. We've got a few more minutes that Wes and I can sit here and answer anything that you all send our way. While we're sitting here, though, definitely join our Facebook group. I'll drop that link into the chat again just to make sure that you have it, because that link is all the way at the very top of the chat right now. Make sure to join our Facebook group. There's thousands of other ChurchTrac users there that love ChurchTrac and love doing ministry enough to answer your questions about either one of those things. Also, we have an awesome YouTube channel. This video will be on that channel soon. Other videos like this are there waiting for you to watch. And any future video we do like this, make sure you subscribe so that you can stay up to date on everything we're doing on YouTube.
All right. Well, that was the last minute Easter checklist. That was a lot of fun to be able to do that. And again, like I said at the beginning, this is stuff we've just been able to learn, some of it from experience and failures and also successes, but also just a lot of it from church leaders who we've been working with over the years.
Just like you.
Yeah, that have shown us these things. And so hopefully that helped you all as you get ready for Easter. We have, how many days are until Easter? Let me ask Siri, how many days until Easter? 11 days until Easter. That was fast, actually, for Siri.
Good job, Siri.
So we have 11 days, y'all. So as you get ready for Easter, please, please, please just reach out to us. Create a support ticket. You can schedule a phone call. We can help you, whether it's creating your Church Connect page, you need some help with that, whether it's making sure your online giving is all set, maybe getting your number ready so when people, say like they want to learn more about your church, stuff like that, we're going to help you out with that. So just be sure to reach out to us, and we will talk to you soon. Have a phenomenal Easter service. He is risen. He is risen indeed.
Bye now.